Imagine being at the forefront of scientific breakthrough, making history. Just picture it. The heart-pounding thrill of discovery, the exhilaration of pushing boundaries, and the anticipation of what comes next. That's exactly what it felt like when the world witnessed the first successful cryogenic freezing. Cryogenic freezing, for those who may not know, is a process that involves preserving a human body at extremely low temperatures, with the hope, the dream, that future medical technology will be able to revive them and cure any diseases they may have had. It's a concept that's been floating around in science fiction and medical circles for quite some time, a concept that straddles the line between reality and fantasy. And then, there it was, the dawn of a new era, the first successful cryogenic freezing. It was a moment that sent ripples of excitement through the scientific community and beyond. It was a beacon of hope, a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. It was proof that we were one step closer to conquering the unconquerable, to defying the very laws of life and death. The news spread like wildfire, igniting a global conversation. The skeptics questioned the ethics and feasibility of it all, while the believers reveled in the possibilities. Imagine, they said, being able to cheat death, to leapfrog into the future, to experience the unknown. It was a tantalizing thought, a glimmer of hope in an otherwise uncertain world. But amidst the celebration and the debates, a chilling question lingered. What if everything was not as it seemed? What if the line between life and death was not as clear-cut as we thought? What if we were meddling with forces beyond our comprehension? This is the story of the first successful cryogenic freezing. This is the story of a scientific breakthrough that promised a future beyond our wildest dreams. But as we delve deeper, we will discover that this story is more than meets the eye. It's a tale of hope and fear, of life and death, of triumph and tragedy. But what if everything was not as it seemed? Stay tuned as we unravel the mystery. The procedure was carried out with utmost precision. Picture this, a team of top-tier medical professionals, their brows furrowed in focus, each movement calculated and deliberate. The atmosphere in the room was thick with anticipation, the kind you could almost taste, like static on the tip of your tongue before a lightning storm. The subject, a brave soul, had been prepared meticulously for the procedure. Every detail was considered, every variable accounted for, from the temperature of the room to the composition of the cryoprotectant solution. This was, after all, a journey into the unknown, a bold leap into the icy abyss of cryogenic freezing. The freezing process itself was an intricate ballet of science and technology. Nitrogen vapor was used to gradually cool the body, reducing the metabolic rate to a near standstill. This was not a process to be rushed, but a slow, steady descent into the sub-zero temperatures. The subject's body temperature dropped degree by degree until finally it reached the desired state. As the final stage of the procedure came to a close, the anticipation in the room reached its peak. The medical team watched the monitors, their eyes glued to the steady rhythm of the vitals. The heartbeat slowed, the breathing grew shallow, and then everything came to a halt. The first successful cryogenic freezing was a reality. But this was not the end of the journey, but rather the beginning of a new one. The team celebrated, their joyous laughter echoing in the sterile room. They had achieved the unimaginable, pushed the boundaries of what was possible. But their success was only half the story. Within the cold, silent shell of the cryogenic chamber, the subject lay frozen in time, a living testament to the marvels of modern science. But unbeknownst to the jubilant medical team, a chilling reality was about to unfold. For within the silence of the frozen state, a nightmare unfolded. Silence can sometimes be the loudest scream. Have you ever found yourself trapped in a nightmare, desperately trying to wake up, but you just can't? That's exactly what our protagonist was going through. Except this was not a dream. It was a chilling reality. As the celebration of the first successful cryogenic freezing echoed outside, he found himself in an icy solitude, his mind fully awake. Imagine, if you will, the terror of realizing that your body has been frozen in time, but your consciousness has not. It's like being buried alive, except it's colder, much colder. And there's no sound, no light, just an endless, silent abyss. His thoughts raced, bouncing around like a pinball in an empty machine. He tried to move, to shout out, to give any sign that he was still there, but his body wouldn't respond. He was trapped in a shell of ice, his mind the only thing not frozen in this cryogenic winter. In the depths of this silent nightmare, he could only listen to his own thoughts, his own silent screams. The silence was deafening, the loneliness unbearable. He was alone with his thoughts, his fears, and the chilling realization that he might have to endure this for eternity. He felt every second of his existence, each one stretching into what felt like hours, days, years. This was not the immortality he had signed up for. This was a prison, a frozen prison, where time stood still, where he was the only prisoner, and his mind was the only guard. Every thought, every memory, every emotion was amplified in the silence. He could hear the unspoken words, the silent goodbyes, the silent regrets. He could feel the cold seeping into his thoughts, freezing his hopes, his dreams, his sanity. The cold was a relentless enemy, gnawing at his consciousness, trying to freeze his thoughts. But he fought back, clinging onto his sanity, his humanity, with every ounce of his mental strength. He was trapped, a prisoner within his own body. His mind screamed for help, but no sound came out. Imagine, if you will, the sheer terror of this scenario. The man, rendered silent by the marvels of cryogenic technology, was trapped within his own consciousness. His body, encased in a shell of ice, betrayed no signs of life, yet his mind was a whirlwind of desperate thoughts and frantic pleas. Every moment was an internal struggle, a battle against the cold, silent darkness that had claimed his physical form. His thoughts turned to Morse code, a desperate attempt to communicate through the rhythmic pulsing of his heart. But his heartbeat, like everything else about him, was frozen in time, imperceptible to the world outside his icy tomb. His mind raced, seeking other means of communication. He tried to twitch a finger, to flutter an eyelid, any minute movement that might signal his awareness. But his body was unresponsive, a prisoner of the freezing process that had preserved him. The panic began to set in, a creeping dread that gnawed at his consciousness. What if he was trapped like this forever? What if his silent pleas fell on deaf ears, his desperate thoughts unheard and unheeded? The thought was unbearable, a nightmare far worse than any he'd ever envisioned. The man's mind was a cacophony of silent screams, a symphony of unheard pleas. Every thought was a cry for help, every memory a desperate attempt to claw his way back to the world of the living. But his body remained still, the perfect image of successful cryogenic preservation. He was a living paradox, a testament to the terrifying potential of science. A man whose body was frozen in time, while his mind was caught in a never-ending cycle of fear and desperation. His situation was a chilling reminder of the unknown territories yet to be explored in the realm of human consciousness. But to the outside world, he was a successful experiment, a marvel of science, a triumph of human ingenuity, a beacon of hope for the future. But beneath the icy facade, the man's unheard pleas echoed in the silence, a haunting testament to the unforeseen consequences of our relentless pursuit of progress. But what happened next? In the icy silence of the cryogenic chamber, our protagonist lay suspended in time, trapped within his own consciousness. A chilling paradox, where science and nature collided in the most unforeseen of ways. This breakthrough, this triumph of human innovation, had turned into a potential nightmare. Consider the implications. Imagine being conscious, yet unable to interact with the world around you. Imagine being aware of every passing second, every tick of the clock, but powerless to do anything about it. It's a scenario that could only be dreamed up in the darkest corners of science fiction, yet it was all too real for the man trapped in a frozen state of existence. This unsettling scenario raises a multitude of ethical questions. Is it right to experiment with the boundaries of life and death in such a way? Are we playing God by attempting to freeze time and cheat death? And perhaps most importantly, who bears the responsibility when things go wrong? The potential dangers of cryogenic freezing are as vast as the Arctic tundra. There's the risk of irreversible physical damage, of course. But what about the psychological effects? The loneliness, the isolation, the sheer terror of being trapped in your own mind, unable to communicate or move. It's a fate that many would consider worse than death. And then there's the question of consent. Did our protagonist truly understand what he was signing up for? Was he aware of the potential risks and consequences? Or was he simply seduced by the promise of immortality, only to find himself trapped in a never-ending nightmare. As we delve into this unresolved mystery, we're forced to confront the uncomfortable reality that science, in its relentless pursuit of progress, can sometimes lead us down a path of unforeseen consequences. A path that, once taken, offers no easy way back. Would he ever escape his frozen prison? Only time will tell. Y'all, we're wrapping up here, but don't you go anywhere just yet. Show some love, hit that like button. Fancy more content like this? Go on, subscribe and let that bell icon ring so you won't miss a beat. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, sharing is caring. Until next time, stay tuned.